Today we gathered here at the heart of the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. for an amazing event, the International Interfaith Conference led by Pastor Mark Burns, the conference titled United in Liberty, the Rise of Spiritual Diplomats. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for bringing your experience to the table when it comes down to raising the questions that are so important and vital for everyone. And thank you so much for being the change, the part of the change.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure to talk with you today. And the first question that I wanted to ask is, we know that the concept of spiritual diplomacy was introduced today. What is spiritual diplomacy to you personally? How do you understand this concept?
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Manji Wilson. I am Chief Technical Advisor to the Governor of Plateau State in Nigeria. And it is such a pleasure and quite an honor to be here amongst congressmen and women in this very unique structure of the U.S. Capitol with faith leaders and spiritual diplomats as we define them today, like you've rightly mentioned. And if there is something I think humanity has in common, whether from the global south, you consider it from one continent to another, is that there's an alignment on the fact that every human is spiritual in the way that they live or define themselves. You can't say as much, when you talk about the concepts of religion or other forms of identity that people, associate themselves with. So the context of spiritual diplomacy today seems quite unique, harnessing, individuals across the world, faith leaders across over 100 countries, irrespective of, how they've defined themselves, whether Christians or Hindus or Muslims or traditionalists or even people that believe in other things. I think there is a common element, a common entity of, a belief that there is a spiritual being, and that spirituality, comes into play. If you find yourself in that particular space, like we have defined today, spiritual diplomacy becomes essential for leaders of thought, leaders, across faiths, across different backgrounds, across different races and color, coming together to say we are aligning and understanding that as humans, we have one thing which is very constant, and it's that spirituality, irrespective of what we believe in.
Thank you so much. Thank you for such a sincere answer. And what, in your opinion, perspectives do we have? What opportunities open up for us as society when faith leaders, government officials, civic leaders, public activists come together? What opportunities do we have for the future?
In my speech, I gave an example of the Bible story where Nehemiah, one of the important characters in the Bible, made an inquiry into the welfare of his people. And he realized that they were in such a state of despair. The city was already broken down, their gates were burned, and they were in such a condition that no human should be. You could define that as a humanitarian crisis at the time. While he was serving in a land that it would seem impossible to ask your leader to allow you to go back and work for your people. And Nehemiah, went in front of his king. And when the king inquired of him, he informed him of this very desperate situation that his people were in. And of course, his king, by the favor that God granted him, asked him what sort of support he wanted. And he requested support to go back, to go and rebuild, his land. The king did not just offer him letters to go to other governors so that they would grant him easy passage, but he also granted him, certain letters that will grant him access to resources like timber to rebuild and all of that. And I think, for me, this culminates, what I think that faith leaders, civil society activists, governments, spiritual diplomats, would need to do for such a time as this, where the whole world is such in need of direction. The world is such in need of hope. The world is in need of repair. You have people, that are emotionally traumatized. You have people that are physically traumatized. There's a lot of displacements. There's so much humanitarian crisis across the world. We must be able to find leaders that will come together to rebuild. And I think this is where spiritual diplomats will play a critical role, because irrespective of what people do in society today, they have one spiritual leader or another that they believe in. So you could say that spiritual diplomats have the key towards transforming the entirety of humanity, because they currently run or rule or lead, irrespective of how you define it, one section or another, of society and people. So I think that this is a very, very important, convening is a very, very important establishment that Pastor Mark, Burns and teams and the team has set up. And I hope that this would be a platform for so many people to anchor, and be able to heal the world, as it were.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
also, what key message, key takeaway would you like the participants of today's event, the audience who are watching us right now, to carry on further to their families, to their communities, to their nations, to their countries?
One key message, I would pass, of course, or I would love for each of us to carry, is that we are more interconnected than we realize. Across borders, across regions, our people are more connected because the difficulties that they suffer are similar. So as faith leaders, as spiritual diplomats, we must find a way to create a network, and to extend the work that we've begun here, to be able to influence our society, and not just influence our society, but to bring also the needed, change that our people need, both emotionally, psychologically, physically, and to ensure that the protection of our people becomes center, and paramount in all that we do, as faith leaders, across the world. So I think the world is waiting for us. The world is waiting for the unveiling and the reach of spiritual leaders, and the time for spiritual leaders to act is now. The better time would have been yesterday, but the next best time is now, and spiritual leaders must rise up and take their place in the redefinition of what a peaceful and a beautiful world can be.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for such a sincere conversation, and
you
thank
very
you for
much.
your meaningful actions
Thank you
that
very
you bring
much.
to this world,
Appreciate
not only
it,
in
yeah.
your country, but globally on a large scale level. Thank you. It
Thank
was
you
a
very
pleasure
much.
talking
The
to
pleasure
you.
is all mine. Thank you.
Today, we're gathered at the Capitol building, the heart of the United States, in the Interfaith Conference, United in Liberty, the Rise of the Spiritual Diplomats, led by Pastor Mark Burns. We're grateful for your presence here today. Thank you for this moment to take some time and speaking with us.
I'm so grateful to be here. I'm honored. It's an incredible conference. I had no idea that there are this many passionate, incredible people. When I was invited by the pastor, how can you say no? But this is just really incredible. It's so inspiring.
So in that, what does spiritual diplomacy mean to you?
Well, it really means two things, I would say. One of them is, using our mission as people that are believe in God, that, and if we're pastors, I'm a rabbi, that really, we're sort of professional God people. And so putting all of that into diplomacy. So just not going to be politicians or military people, but it's people that, work connected to tradition and to godliness. So that's one element. The other spiritual is that every single person should put their spirit. I believe God is in everyone. The Spirit of God is in everyone. and bring that to the table when we talk about peace and how to resolve conflicts. So one of them is spiritual leaders, I guess, and the other one is the spirit that everyone has that can really make the difference.
As we look to the future, what opportunities do you see for faith and civic communities to work together for a positive social impact?
Yeah, I think starting with words like we want peace, we want love, let's start with that. Those should be the foundations, not I want this land, I want that, I want this, I want that. Let's start, we want peace, we want love, human dignity, and valuing every single human life. And really, I feel that in this room, there's a love for the Judeo-Christian tradition. There's a love for even Islam and Hinduism, but whatever it is, love and peace, and let's keep that as our goals. And I think if we really do that, I think we'll have a lot less conflict, and we'll learn how to work things out.
I totally agree with that. There is a lot of love here. So how can faith and civic leaders help translate the dialogue into meaningful action for peace and for freedom of belief?
Well, I see a lot of people actually, so many of the pastors have visited Israel because of their belief. And so that's one way of saying what's inside in Judaism. Well, I guess it's Yiddish to say what's in the kishkas, what's in your belly, taking that passion of your belly and practical steps. That's what the pastor talked about. Pastor Burns talked about not just looking at things being photographed, but actually going places, doing things, taking risks. I've been spending time going to Syria and bringing delegations there and really trying to connect people by real action steps. There's a man talked about going to Ukraine, so it's action. That's how we translate our spiritual underpinnings and beliefs and making a difference through action.
Yeah. We have to act, Yeah. So what key message would you most like the participants to carry forward from this conference?
Hold on to your love, hold on to your pride, hold on to your passion. And that's what I really feel here. And unity and coming together. And it's so beautiful that, people that are so deeply Christian and deeply Jewish and deeply Muslim, you see a lot of Jews that would keep home with it. These are not, lightweights here. Everyone is deeply committed. And yet we're able to come together in unity of purpose. And that's what I think can be inspiring to the whole world.
Very inspiring to me, my heart is so full with just seeing just the plurality of people, for all different lives. Yeah.
Dress differently, it's amazing. I love that. I'm wearing such a boring suit, You have a nice suit there, but really, I love that different clothing and different passions, but all coming together in unity, and that's what we want.
Yeah, and it is a key word, unity. I believe, we're all human beings on this shared planet. That's the one thing we have in common.
Yeah, exactly. And people are always trying to pull us apart and divide us and get us. You have to hate this one, hate that one. No. Love everyone and respect the human being in everyone, and that eventually will bring us together.
How does that, your experience in being a rabbi, help shape the perspective you bring in this gathering?
Well, I think as a Jew and as a rabbi, you have to care about the whole world, and you have to see what can Judaism and the Jewish people do for the entire world. And I really feel that here, that this is everyone coming together saying, what can we do for other people? I mean, it's very important to care about the Jewish community and to learn about Judaism and Torah and all that. But what can I do, taking that to impact my community, to make the broader community and the broader world? So what I'm taking from here is that I got to keep it up. I got to keep on being who I am as a Jew and as a rabbi and seeing how that can have an impact on the entire world and acting on that.
Well, thank you again for your time. We really appreciate you being here and the leadership that you bring to this conference.
It's my honor to be here and just so grateful for this conference, and thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Today, we're gathered at the heart of the United States Capitol at the International Interfaith Conference, United in Liberty, Rise of the Spiritual Diplomats. We're grateful for your presence at this conference and your leadership that you bring to the dialogue. Thank you, Scarlett, for taking time to talk to us today.
Absolutely.
I'd first like to ask you, what does spiritual diplomacy mean to you?
Spiritual diplomacy means having the courage to go out and speak the truth and seek the truth in love. And that's what we're all doing here today.
Yeah, definitely agree. So as we look to the future, what opportunities do you see for faith and civic communities to work together for positive social impact?
Well, I've been focused in schools. My 6-year-old son was murdered in his first grade classroom in the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. And after that event, I realized that what happened was 100% preventable. My son, Jesse, wrote a message on our kitchen chalkboard, 3 words: nurturing, healing, love. And I realized that that was the solution. So I decided to create a program that helps people be able to choose love over fear in every circumstance, situation, and interaction. It's a possibility, and it's authentic power. It's who we truly are. It's treating others as we want to be treated, and it brings peace and forgiveness and compassion. So I really do think that it starts with our children. Our children should be our number one priority. And if they were, I think that there would not be the despair and the mental health and violence crises that we're seeing all over our world. And so, it really heartened me today to see that there are a lot of people out there working in the name of love, not just in schools, but in homes and in communities all over the planet. Gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Such bravery to transform such a tragic event into something so positive, filled with love and inspiration. So a very wonderful thing right there. Thank you for that. What key message would you most like our participants to carry forward from this conference?
I think this conference proves that it's possible for people all over the world with different faiths, different views, different opinions, different skin color, different ideologies, different philosophies, that they can come together in what we all have in common as human beings, and that is love, but also because of something else that we have in common as human beings, and that is pain. We all feel pain, and today we're coming together to heal that pain with love. And it's absolutely wonderful. And I would just like to leave everybody with the understanding that this is possible, that you can choose love over fear. Anger, hatred, and resentment are simply a mask for fear, and that it's possible. Choice is our superpower as human beings. And so we just need to remind each other that we have that choice, that it's the best way to live. As we know, we share values and wants and needs all over the world as human beings. And the number one thing that brings us together is this want for peace. That's what we want. And so peace is possible when we choose love. So I'd like to just encourage everybody as they're listening and going about their world to remember that you just think about what you're thinking about every day and choose a loving thought over an angry thought. That's how this whole Choose Love movement started at my son's funeral, when I asked the congregation to do that. And they came back and said it changed their life. They didn't realize that they were angry. And when they started, thinking about what they think about and choosing a loving thought over an angry thought, it changed their life. If it changes your life, it can change your family life, it can change your community, and it can change our world.
That's so inspiring. That's so warming and touching. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and to share your experience and your outlook in this conference. And we really appreciate the message that you bring to this conference and to our audience in general.
Thank you.
Now we shift our focus to the protection of the most vulnerable among us, our children. Please welcome His Excellency Ambassador Lazaro Nilandu, a distinguished Tanzanian diplomat and former cabinet minister, who will discuss the critical work of protecting children in Tanzania and securing their future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Pastor Mark Barnes, God bless. It was a pleasure having a chance to speak with you over the phone the other time, and I can see you now. I wish to recognize congressional leaders, some of whom had spoken before, spiritual leaders who are here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my great honor and singular privilege to speak before you on the subject of shared responsibility which we have before God and humanity, which requires all of us, one, to take care, to protect, and above all, to give the most love to the most vulnerable. And these are children who, some of them may be in harm's way anywhere in the world. As a diplomat myself and as advisor to my president, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, it is befitting that I bring to you greetings from Madam President and share with you her deep belief that the safety of children anywhere is our God-given responsibility and a noble duty upon which our humanity and our human conscience and belief are measured. Coming from Tanzania, a land that stands as an enduring symbol of peace, beauty, and stability in Africa, and a country whose children have grown singing, and if there is anybody from Tanzania here would attest to me, we grew up singing a love song, all of us. It said, Tanzania, nakupenda kwa moyo wote, ninapokwenda safarini kutazama maajabu. And it was speaking rather about people and children who had no home, who had no place to go. Tanzania would be a country that welcomes them all, give them home, give them refuge. And these melodies and lyrics have defined who we are as a nation, spoke then and now that suffering children are safe in God's hands, and we the people remain his instrument of sharing his grace, his care, his protection, and enduring love for all of the children of our world. Currently in Tanzania, and I wanted to give this perspective so people understand where we are currently today in Tanzania. We are hosting around 231,000 to 232,000 refugees. This is according to UNHCR, mainly from the country of Burundi and DRC. This number was estimated to have reached 1 million during the peak of the Rwandan genocide. Thousands of children, mostly those escaping brutal reality of harm, wars, and fear, have crossed into our country, into our borders, to find a home, to find love, and to find families. Tanzania has continued its open arm policy in shielding children and persecuted persons from neighboring countries and allow them to share in our endowed heritage, the hospitality of our warm-hearted people. And if you ever come to Tanzania, you find love in the street. You find joy in the street. There is something in the air when you walk the nights in the cities like Dar es Salaam and other places. The vast opportunity brought by our beautiful country, we have opened the door and arms for those that are in harm's way. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes, and of course it does happen, bad actors have taken advantage of this generosity and access given to people from all around the world who wish to extend a helping hand in support of children in need across our land and, of course, across our continent. We had a story recently that Pastor Mark and I shared. This was a story of a man who was not a native of Tanzania. He had come from another beautiful country, and his name was Jakub Jahal from the Czech Republic. This man, whose infamous actions represents a modern-day cross-border criminal rings targeting children, is alleged to have abused children and misappropriated charity funds meant to support those same children in need in an orphanage somewhere in Moshi, just beneath the beautiful foot of Mount Kilimanjaro. This man became a monster in hiding, accused of abusing children in the most inhumane ways. And Jacob is reportedly to have arrived in Tanzania sometimes in 2020, initially as a community support lead through an organization called Nature Skills, which was supporting vulnerable children and promoting environmental action. Such actions are abhorrent and contrary to international laws and to the laws of the United Republic of Tanzania. And hence a coordinated due process to bring the perpetrator and his associate to justice is warranted, and regardless of where they may be hiding today in the world. Tanzania, under the able leadership of Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, our first female president, proud mother and a leader, has stood tall among nations in Africa by advancing Pan-African policy to protecting the rights of the children. Even during our darkest hour, our nations and her people has reason to find a reason, compromise, and purpose to continue holding all our children by the hand and keeping the faith in the greater good of humanity through God. It is well noted that during the years of J.F. Kennedy, and this is a man that many Americans remember with pride, this was back in 1961 to 1963. These years were known for the youthful energy of his new frontier vision. As America faced multiple challenges and opportunity at the same time, and among them, I remember from reading and from understanding, it was Cuba Missile Crisis, establishing a Peace Corps that continue to bring change across the world today, and also advancing the space technology. During these coveted times, a young leader from Tanzania, Julius Nyerere, had risen to power in our country, having delivered independence of Tanganyika from the rule of England without bloodshed. And this is important. He was a spiritual diplomat of his time. And they two quickly became friends. They had a bond of friendship. They had a bond of love and brotherhood. And this friendship resulted in JFK inviting Julius Nyerere to come to this city, Washington, D.C., on January 15, 1963. Among other things that they discussed was making the children of Africa and the children of Tanzania an endowment that we will all be proud. They discussed, among other things, the children's safety that would be the epicenter and foundation of Tanzania and U.S. relationships that have endured today. The welfare of Tanzanian school children, as I said, was among things they discussed then in 1963. Ladies and gentlemen, at such times as these, interfaith dialogue must continue to build trust. Where politics alone cannot, humanity is brought together in shared values and perspectives. The unity among faith communities is essential in addressing today's global challenges, the safety of children included. It is our sacred duty and shared responsibility to go beyond the call of duty, anything that we are, that we believe, that we want to do, to making sure the freedom of religion, the beliefs, and the faith is protected for all, because this is foundation upon which we can have societies that are strong. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever that happened now and today, I wish to say that one of the famous things that Nelson Mandela once said was that Africa, as he was looking at the continent, having come out of jail, he said, Africa, the Lord gave you struggles, and struggles made you strong. We are all made strong because of some of the things we go through. And I believe as we continue to stand united, as we continue to work together, the voices of far places like Africa, what we do, what we are achieving should be part of the contribution, positive contribution to this debate in the world, to making our world a better place. And I want to finish by giving you this. Someone somewhere in Africa continue to believe we do have that African dream to be a better people, to be loving, to open our hands to the rest of the world. We are over 54 different countries speaking hundreds upon hundreds of languages, but yet when you visit the continent, even places where you may not have heard, there is love in the air. If you come to Tanzania, if you come to places like Arusha, Mount Kilimanjaro, and you go to just ordinary folks in the villages, you find love in the air. We would like to have this love continue to unite our world as we continue to be free people, working for the whole world and uniting all our perspectives for the greater good. Thank you, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you for bringing up the Yacobial case as well, that has allegedly committed the grave crimes against children in Tanzania. That is devastating, and I'm glad you're looking into it.
We gathered here today at the heart of the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. for the International Interfaith Conference, United in Liberty, the Rise of Spiritual Diplomats, led by Pastor Mark Burns. And we are grateful to you for being here with us today and for the positive impact that you make on society here in the United States and globally. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for taking the time and speaking with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And this is very spiritual to be in our capital, in the halls of Congress where our laws are made, and with Pastor Mark Burns leading this great conference with your help of organizing it, and having such variety, such a large spectrum of people, rabbis, priests, chaplains, mullahs, everybody is here, singers, actors, black, white, and the leadership of Pastor Burns all across the world, including Ukraine and Korea, Israel, and definitely in the United States, bringing people together. And even though he's a great supporter of our President Trump, he makes a point that it's not about politics. He makes a great point that it is about us all together finding good in each other. Because there's so much evil and there is so much killing and so much suffering going on around the world that it takes few of us to change it. Most of us probably will not participate in it. And this is, Pastor Burns makes it very clear that he doesn't need people in his ranks that are just going to take a picture with him and pacify him. There's no point in it. He's not going to carry it to President Trump and say, this is a nice person, this is a nice person. He wants fighters. He wants warriors in his ranks. And I'm honored. I thank God that he chose me to be one of his pit bulls to fight for it, because there's a lot of suffering. And I can compare him to people like Raoul Wallenberg or Schindler, people who stood up at their own expense, at their own price, the high price that they're paying, politically. He's a man of God. Not everybody share his politics, I'm sure, but he does take that chance, and he brings us all together. And I'm very thankful to him. I'm very thankful to his staff. I'm very thankful to you that you're able to do this. So I'm very honored to be rank and file and in Dr. Burns' pitbull attack. I mean, he's definitely, you could see where he's routing people and how the crowd goes. I mean, there's definitely a gift of God for somebody to do that. I've asked him many times if he considers that to be a blessing or a curse, because you could see how much energy, how much it drains out of him, but how much energy he gives to the crowd, And his answer was a little bit of both, He's a very humble man in that sense. So I'm very honored to be here, and thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm talking about you, Dr. Burns, and I'm actually talking about you, sir. I'm saying what a gift you have. I'm saying how you charging the crowd. Everybody else is going, we want peace and love and peace and love, and then you go. And this is a ramming speed.
He should be the
pit bulls.
ambassador to Ukraine right here.
Ramming speed, my brother. This is a pit bull of our society.
Go ahead, Mr.
Love you. And this is what I'm saying, that he's going at the ramming, what we say in the Navy, he's going at the ramming speed. Nothing is going to stop him. And I was very, very moved by when he is saying, get out of my way if you're not going to help. Just get out of my way and stand by and watch history being made. And we're going to do it on our own, even though there's few of us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for such a sincere and honest answer.
Thank you.
It's really important. And yes, huge gratitude to Pastor Burns for all of his actions and his inspiration to us and to all of the people to act, not to be indifferent. And what do you think, in your opinion, how this collaboration of faith leaders, civic leaders, government officials, public activists, how can it bring positive change into society?
Well, I'm not sure I'm going to answer your question, but as a military man, I always say that there is a difference between us and them. And the difference between us and them is it is very easy to be a politician and sell your soul, to get more votes, to get more money, to raise funds. It is very easy when you're in a war to become evil because you have a gun and you have all the power in the world. And you need a spiritual leader such as Pastor Burns to tell the difference between good and evil, to tell our politicians between good and evil, that maybe sometimes you're going a little too far. Come back to the people. Come back why you came into this office. What was the idea? Why did you want to serve your people? Did you want to serve to benefit yourself, to enrich yourself? Or were you really, honestly, when you were giving the Pledge of Allegiance, to serve the people? The same thing I addressed to my brothers in arms. Did you join in to what? To get medals, to enrich yourself, to be more overpower people that don't have a gun in their hand? Or did you join to fight for the ones that cannot fight for themselves? And this is where I think it is very, very important for people who have power, whether it's a power in weaponry, deadly weaponry, whether it's a political power, to have a spiritual advisor. And this is where you can go to that individual and say, Pastor Burns, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Is this a right thing to do? Is this why I was brought to this earth to serve? And this is where I think people like him and other religious leaders can guide us in it. Because it's very easy for people in power to lose that focus.
Thank you so much. And what main key takeaway, what main message would you like the participants of the conference to carry on to their communities, to their families, and to their countries?
Leadership is a very important word. Leadership is a responsibility. It's a responsibility of the people that you're leading. And I take away from it that yes, there is love. There is love in the word. There is love when people are tested. There's love in the family. Sometimes in our families there's trouble. In my family, one of my members of my family is now very, very sick, and although she's a very young lady, and this is what leadership is all about, that you have to display leadership, that everybody stays together, everybody continues to fight and move on. If you think you're going through hell, you keep on moving, you keep going, and this is what Pastor Burns is telling us. You stay tough. Love is not just, let's love in peace and, we want to love. No, it's also you got to stay strong. To truly love somebody, you have to be strong. And to be a loving leader, sometimes you have to make unpopular decisions. Sometimes you have to make very tough decisions. I even start sounding like Pastor Bird, tough decisions. But this is what leadership is, when we try to mimic leaders. And as you can see, I'm catching myself on the thing that I'm mimicking Pastor Burns, the way he delivers his speeches. And I think that's what leadership is all about. And I think this is what spiritual leaders truly have to be.
Thank you so much. Thank you really for such a meaningful conversation.
Thank you for inviting, and keep on doing it. Keep on pushing it. Keep on pushing it. I know you're getting a lot of criticism. I know that. I'm following you. I know you're getting a lot of criticism. I know it, but this is sign of success. I know that Pastor Burns is going to get a lot of criticism for helping Ukraine, for doing this and that, but that's what leaders are. We can take criticism. We've got to stay tough.
People who don't do anything don't get criticism.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
What they do is they're the critics. They're the ones that criticize.
Thank you for such a meaningful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.